All right, guys, we should be live now for episode 2 of the Win or Tilt show. I'm back here with Mark. Mark, how you doing today?
Man, it was a decent night, but it could have been so much better if a few things just went slightly different than the way they did. But I know you got some things to tilt about, so let's get right into that.
Yeah, let me first. We'll do DraftKings first. Obviously, I know we're going to be covering a lot of PrizePicks in this, but let me get a little bit out of the way on DraftKings. If you guys didn't watch my video, was having a really solid day going into that late game. I had Pogashevsky, I had Maladon. I was in good shape. I was like 2xing my money, and a lot of people were pretty high owned of that game. And I just needed the game to just end the game, and I'm winning pretty easily. And sure enough, the game goes to overtime, and that pushes me out of the cash. I also played Trae Young. Don't know if you saw that, but the Hawks scored 132 points against the Pacers. The game stayed competitive. I'm sure you saw a lot of those Hawks guys were out, and Trae Young had 12 points.
Yeah, it was a weird game for him because he had like whatever it was, like 6 assists in the first quarter. He had quite a few assists, and then I think he hit 2 3-pointers, and I was like,
he almost had a double in the first quarter. He had like 8 points, 8 assists. I'm like, okay, like he's not making a ton of shots right now, but this is looking great. Just completely cardio the next 3 quarters. I can't get him right. Him and Kyrie.
It's Bogdan coming off the bench. Yeah. I think he had 29 last night. He's just coming in and he's just shooting nonstop.
The Hawks have guys like TLC and Jalen Johnson on the court, and Trae Young still scores 12 points.
Didn't Capella go for 20 last night?
Capella went off. Everyone besides Trae. Besides Trae.
If you put a gun to my head and said Capella, if Capella goes for 20, you're a dead man, I would be like, okay, I'm completely fine. Like there's no chance that this happens. Capella going for 20. I mean, talk about PrizePicks. His PrizePicks is almost always at 10.5. He rarely ever, and it's a struggle to hit that. So crazy slate. What was the winning lineup? Do you have that?
It was basically a stack of the late game. It was like all Thunder and Blazers just because that game went to overtime. So I think he had like 4 or 5 players in that game. Again, I was in great shape until that overtime, so that hurt. As far as the PrizePicks props, so we were looking to go 4 or 5, right? We could have gone 5-5. So first, the Golden State game, Poole, Tyus Jones missed out on a couple, massive blowout, right? They're hitting that game. They're hitting those numbers if they play in the fourth quarter. So that sucked. Like Memphis is just the best team ever without Ja Morant. They just blow out everyone. So that was super frustrating.
Imagine if you took I mean, we obviously, it hurt for us to lose PrizePicks yesterday, but imagine if we had taken Jordan Poole 25.5. He went for 25.
Yeah, that would have hurt.
It would have been livid.
I saw him. He actually checked in to begin the fourth. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a chance he can get this in garbage time. He played for like 30 seconds.
And then they immediately took him out. Yeah, I didn't. That was but so yesterday was a great example of if you stack a really bad game and in a PrizePicks, it can do really well because that Portland game, OKC, if you would stack that, you damn near would have hit everything. I mean, if you took like Eubanks points, Maladon points.
Everything hit the over in that game.
Yeah, literally everything.
I saw a few people did that. They did a 5-pick power play and they 10x their money.
I mean, that's the big thing. That's my actual favorite when you're just checking. Like, I'll just pull up like Roto Grinders, like starting lineups and just look at it. And I'm like, dude, they got a 7-man rotation. Like how are you not going to have, outside of, unless it's like each guy gets exactly like 15 points. I mean, you got to have dudes who are hitting 20. Though I will say Maladon hitting, I want to say he ended up going for like 23 points. But he had 11 with like 4 minutes to go. And I was getting tacos and a beer with one of my buddies, and I needed badly for a 5-pick PrizePicks to win $600. I need Maladon to hit over 15.5, and he fought for it, and he got it and then it ended up
off at the end. Yeah, he had a couple threes at the end of the game. I think he had one in overtime too.
Yeah, it was clutch, but I was I was very nervous for a second because I was like, man, I'm about to come on here and tilt because I thought I was going to lose that. And I made that bet before the Trey Mann news came out. So it was like 15.5 you would think would be an easy one for
once Mann got out, especially, right?
Yeah. And then Maladon, he took a sweet time, but he got there.
The funny thing was too, it was actually really important for DFS was the Blazers signed Reggie Perry to a 10-day contract, and just no one knew if he was going to play. Like I was looking at we never got news. So like that was pretty important because like he didn't end up playing, but if he did, that was another big on the team. It would have added another body to that rotation, and no one knew if he was playing or not. So that was I don't understand how we don't get that information. Like we got the news he signed the contract, but like all the DFS players, like, is he playing?
Right.
No one knew.
That is the frustrating stuff sometimes of it's like the teams embrace gambling, but at the same time, like don't at the same time because
it reminded me of like preseason or summer league when you're trying to find news. It's like, how do we not get this confirmation in the regular season if this guy's playing?
Right, when you're literally just hitting up beat reporters.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what do I have to tilt about last night. Well, so in the thing about last night too was that if people tuned into our stream, obviously we had our 5 pick that we put out as like our community one.
Yep.
But we talked about a lot of other ones that hit at the same time. So we talked about Dejounte Murray over 1.5 threes. We talked about that as a bounce back game because he was incredibly cold. He went off. He went off. That would have been an easy stack with Jalen Green if we knew all the Houston news when we were doing the live stream yesterday. We just didn't know that at the time. But yeah, once that news came out, I took Jalen Green over 19.5. He went for 30. That was easy. The interesting tactic, and I tried this out yesterday to see if it would be something I should bring up today, is have you ever played the first half lineups?
I don't really play the first half. No, I mean, if I was going to, it's for games that I think could potentially blow out.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking over, but that would probably be the only time I'll take the first half stuff.
So I did that yesterday and did, I did Steven Adams over 14. He nailed that. He went for 22. Trey Mann, so that was a DNP.
Yep.
Marcus Smart over 16. He nailed that. Wendell Carter over 16. He nailed that. And Miles Bridges over 12 or over 18. And he had 4 turnovers, and which, I mean, he would have been, I think, right under anyway, but he was so close. He missed like 2 3-pointers at the end there that would have won that. I basically, got like 1.5 times my money because of the DNP for Trey Mann. But I do think the first half lineups can be interesting. The first half lines, because it is, if you go to the first half lines on here, usually they only have points, I believe, and fantasy points.
Yeah.
So, if you think about it, like a guy like Kispert, if he comes out and he hits 2 3-pointers and gets, and gets a rebound or 2, you're hitting that 9.5 super easy. And so those are lines that I think you actually can find a lot of value. And they're, you got to look at them a little bit more, careful. But even like, okay, the Luka line, right? 25.
Right.
What if, that game could easily blow out.
Yeah. See, that would be more prone to taking the Luka over here in the first half, right?
Yeah. So, or, Grayson Allen, 7.5. Like, that's just so low, Doesn't mean, obviously, that could be, I haven't looked exactly at that play, but I think there are some interesting first half lines. Andre Drummond has killed it in the first half of games, and I feel like he tends to always trail off in the second half. He's burned me so many times when he was a Piston that I've watched too many of his games. But those are lines that you can find some really good value on because they're ones that they don't really they don't get bet a lot. So I do feel like that's some of the big advantages on PrizePicks. If you're betting some of the lines that don't tend to move quickly, I think you're better off.
Agree. I got to bring up one more thing though from last night. What were your thoughts on Mo Bamba not coming back in the fourth quarter?
Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter.
Hopefully just close to the bench.
I had a
game.
Yeah, I had a huge parlay that I did, just throwing together like basically everything that I thought was going to be a win yesterday, and it was like plus 20,000, crazy amount, right? And my one leg of it that didn't hit was Cole Anthony over 5.5 assists, and he had 4 and just didn't play in the fourth quarter. They didn't play Wendell Carter, they didn't play Cole Anthony, and they didn't play Mo Bamba. And I mean, I saw so many people tilted yesterday because Mo Bamba, I want to say he finished with 15 or 16 points, and his line was either 15.5 or 16.5. So that didn't hit. Cole Anthony, the 3-pointers, Mo Bamba, the assist. Like, there were just so many plays that people were on yesterday, and Orlando just says, you know what, we're tanking. We're not even going to put our starters back in. Just frustrating.
I think you're going to see a lot of situations like that down the stretch where teams just don't care. They're just going to run their bench more. I think it's something we could take advantage of here in the last few weeks with teams nothing to play for. Taking some unders and some guys and just, hope something like that happens because I think you're going to see more and more of that, especially in the last few weeks here.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can find a lot of value with some of the guys who are coming off the bench who tend to get consistent minutes, so they're on PrizePicks. Because usually, obviously not a lot of bench guys are on PrizePicks, but I do think you're going to find some good value there of a guy who might be the 6th or 7th guy off the bench, but he's got he's going to play 25 minutes in a game where they're not really caring to win. I think you can find a lot of value in that. So definitely a big fan of that. I mean, it's like we have to just work with it because of these the way these coaches are quite obviously tanking in a lot of ways. So exactly. Man, I'm trying to think what other bad beats were there yesterday. I mean, the Wendell Carter one that had me very.
Basically, any Magic one is a tough break for sure. I saw a lot of people tilting that, so that sucks.
Yeah, the Davion Mitchell, I thought I was going to tilt that because we talked about that yesterday.
He got the blowout run though, and he got it in the blowout.
He did. He played the whole fourth quarter. I was shocked by that. I thought for sure he was not going to come back in. I mean, but we did talk about it on the stream yesterday. Of he's the type of guy that could just get minutes just strictly because of the fact that they didn't have a point guard off the bench. So
he's kind of like Kuminga, right? Kuminga played in the blowout. It's like those young guys that they will bring back in the blowout. And we saw it again. It was like a week ago that the Kings got blown out and Davion Mitchell closed. And that's why I was like, okay, I have more confidence in this play because I think there's a decent chance he plays in the blowout. And he did, right? It was him and basically all scrubs that finished out the game.
What did Kuminga end up with last night?
He had a good stat line. I think he had like 17, 9, and 4 or something. They finished with like 35 fancy points. But he got a majority of that in the second half. I played him on DraftKings. Was awful in the first half. I think he had 4 and 3. But he played like a majority of that second half. He checked back in to play garbage time, which helped me out a ton.
There we go. We nailed the DeRozan call. That was
I think did both him and Levine hit too?
Both him and Levine hit. Yep. Levine's assist didn't hit. That was another one that I felt like was pretty commonly talked about yesterday. Trying to think if there was anything else that was Aaron Jokic and Aaron. What about the start of that game for a second? Aaron Gordon comes out looking like he's LeBron James in the first quarter, and then fell off a cliff like Aaron Gordon always does. And then Jokic just came out and
he just crushed. He absolutely crushed.
Man, he went off yesterday. That was a beautiful thing to see.
He had nothing to in the first quarter. I was like, is Jokic really going to bust here against the Hornets when I play him? Really?
His PrizePicks line yesterday was, I want to say 13 rebounds. And I was like, God, that's just so much. Like, that is just so many rebounds to just.
Didn't he finish with like 20 boards?
Too? Yeah. It was like, I mean, just not even remotely close to not getting it there. That is a beautiful thing when you see that. Desmond Bane hit his over 20.5 yesterday. Julius Randle, Hart brought him up in the chat here. But Julius Randle, I ended up playing his rebounds yesterday. He didn't do much on the scoring points, but he definitely I think he had 13 rebounds. So
nice.
He had a good night rebounding. And then Marcus Smart, what a game for him.
I was that was one thing for DFS. I was surprised a lot of the Celtics were low owned, but we knew like 8-man rotation, right? Once we got that news, all that Boston news came out after we streamed, so we didn't know like Tatum and Brown and all those guys are going to be out, right? He obviously took over. That game went to overtime too. So Anything else from last night, or do you want to
no, I think just last night, once again, is a great example of if you're getting some late news and you see that there's a game that potentially just has a lot of bums playing, there's a chance it turns into Golden State Memphis, but there's also a chance it turns into OKC Portland. And there's a really good opportunity there to make a lot of money by doing a 5-pick right there and nailing that, because those short rotations, there's just not many guys to get those points. It's the same thing yesterday with Indy with Hield and Halliburton, right? Yep. They both went for 25. I think at least 25 points each. It's like, there's only so many guys in the NBA who are great scorers, and when you've got these tight rotations, hammer the guys that are going to get those points.
Agree. Okay, so let's go over. You want to go over the injury news? I'll mention a couple things. So, big news wise, right now, Levine's questionable for injury management. I don't know. You're taking that. I would say he plays. The Bulls have been struggling a bit of late, and they need every win they can get. So, if I had to lean right now, I would say he plays. But we do have some Vooch and DeRozan props up. If you're confident Levine is out, I think you definitely take the over there. Gobert questionable in the late game. I don't think we're going to have that news for a while. Paul George actually questionable as well. That could definitely affect a lot of those Clippers lines. Giannis expect to play, and then the two Lakers guys, LeBron, AD, not expected to play. So we unfortunately have to look to some of those other Lakers props. But that's really the big news. Caruso probable, so expect him to play. Anything stand out to you right now in just the news alone?
So I don't. Do they have Malik Monk's lines up yet?
Let's see. I saw Westbrook lines were up.
They have
nothing on Monk yet.
Yeah, they have Westbrook and Reeves.
Do they have Carmelo?
No, they literally just have Russell and Reeves right now.
Okay.
I don't mind Russell at 33.5 PRA. I think that has some good movement there. In terms of, I think he's somebody that obviously, as we know, we can always give vintage Russ. But it's like the ball is going to be going through him anyway, because usually Malik Monk in a situation like this, I would assume Malik would start today. That news isn't out yet, but Malik Monk will be shooting. Russell will be shooting. Austin Reeves is kind of a, random spot up guy, but he also kind of facilitates a little bit. But I think there's good opportunity with that team, because there's just only so many guys who are going to shoot the rock.
Yeah. Last game with LeBron out, they did run an 8-man rotation. They actually decided to bring Monk and Melo off the bench. Now, I'm not sure that happens again, but it was Westbrook, Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, Gabriel, and Dwight Howard that started 2 games ago.
What an ugly
lineup. It's gross. But I guess for Westbrook, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I think I would rather take the over on the PRA than the fantasy points, because he's just so turnover prone, and it's -1 per turnover. So like you could seriously get a game where Westbrook has like 8-9 turnovers in the spot. So I think I would be, I don't know about you, I would be more willing to take the over in the PRA than the fantasy points. And that's usually rare, but just Westbrook is so turnover prone that I would rather have the PRA.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Obviously, we'll see when Malik Monk's line comes out, but if it's around 15, I think his points look great. Carmelo, same thing. If it's last game, I think it was like 12.5. If it's close to that, I would take that. My guess is it might be like 14. That gets a little steep for me. But I think you could easily take somebody like Austin Reeves. I think his PRA is like 14. That's just so low in a game like this, where he should get kind of 28 to 30 minutes.
Right.
He's good on defense, which will keep him in the game. Which he's kind of like Caruso, and that is he's just kind of a jack of all trades, not really elite at anything, but just good at a lot of things. So I definitely think because he also will facilitate a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes for like 6 assists tonight.
Yeah, he had 6 assists the other day. I was kind of surprised about it. I will say, though, again, if they run a similar rotation to 2 games ago and LeBron is out, it was 8 bodies. And that's a really good sign for some of these, guys with lower props, like a guy like Reeves, who won't have to do much to pay that off, especially if he gets like around 30 minutes. Yeah, which I would assume he gets close to that if they run a similar rotation to last game. No, you never know. Again, Lakers, they could add someone like a Bradley, maybe DJ Augustine, but If they're in that similar rotation to last game, I think Reeves again. Once they add Monk and Melo, I want to see what their lines are at. But like, who is going to score the ball for this team, right? Obviously, Westbrook is going to be out there. He's going to be a high usage player, but they need scoring. Gabriel, Dwight Howard, those guys are not scorers. Stanley Johnson's not a scorer. So I'm very curious to see what the Monk and Melo lines are because I would be willing to take the over, depending on what it is. But I just think those guys have to do a lot of the shooting.
Yeah, and I think a guy like going back to Austin Reeves, I think a guy like that will get blowout burn if the game doesn't stay close.
He will.
What are you saving his legs for? He's like the youngest guy in the team, isn't he?
Yep.
So I mean, a guy like him, Gabriel, probably Stanley Johnson, and probably THT are going to get blowout run. They'll probably keep their bigger bodies like Dwight Howard and some of their old guys like Carmelo and Augustine and stuff like that, kind of give them some rest. But yeah, I mean, you want to look to a guy who potentially will be safe no matter what, if there's blowout run or anything like that.
Right. All right. I want to bring up one here. I want to know what your thoughts are on this one. I took it the other day. It didn't work out. Taking the under on Nick Batum, 16 fantasy points. Now we got that news a few days ago that it was going to be Batum limited to 19 minutes. Marcus Morris limited to 25 minutes, and Reggie limited, I think it was 32 minutes for the rest of the regular season. Now, what you saw happen was Morris didn't even play the second half of that most recent game. We also had that Paul George news pending. So Batum played a little bit more than his limit. I think he played 23 minutes that last game. But here's a spot where I think it's possible Morris rested the second half last game. Maybe this is a game Batum rests the second half. Yeah. And especially if Paul George is in, I mean, Batum's just going to be standing in the corner. Now, knowing my luck, I'll take the under, and it'll be a game where Batum has like 2 blocks, 2 steals, and nail a couple threes. But I think there's a chance that he doesn't even play the second half, or that they actually do limit him to that 18, 19 minutes. So that's one I like right now is the under Nick Batum. Any take on that?
Unders, I feel like I have the worst luck with whenever I do them. I had I mentioned it yesterday, but I had Jackson Hayes 2 days ago, and that hit, but it came so dangerously close to not hitting that I just had massive anxiety.
It's not fun, man. It's not fun to root for unders. It really isn't. Well, that's why you see on Twitter and on, everyone just takes no one takes the unders. But in all honesty, if the line is super, super sharp, the under is the better bet, right? Because there's more things that could go wrong, right? There's potential foul trouble. There's potential blowout, injury. Maybe the guy just can't hit a shot. So if the line is sharp, right? I think it is the better bet actually is to take the under as opposed to the over.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about the Clippers is that a lot of times, with a guy like Batum, they have a lot of dudes who can play his position. They've got Covington, they've got Hartenstein, they've got Kennard and Coffey who can kind of play bigger. Same with Terrence Mann. So it's like, there's a lot of dudes who are kind of in the mold of Batum on that team. So he's definitely somebody that I can see as somebody that you could fade and play the under here. Obviously you're just hoping that when he's out there, he doesn't, because he will have those random games where he'll get like 3 steals and 2 blocks and then nail like 2 threes, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? It's been a long time since his days where he was actually a serviceable player, but he can do it, so he's somebody that I wouldn't be shocked if that under hits, but boy, that will make me nervous playing that under, just because I'm always a points kind of guy. But in a game against Utah, if there was a game where I would take the under, it would be him. If Paul George ends up playing, I would take that under for sure.
Right. And I think there's a decent chance Paul George plays. And like I said, I think there's a better than 0 chance that he doesn't play the second half, like Marcus Morris last game. And if that's the case, this number is very much going under. So and if they do, again, he played a couple more minutes than his minutes limit last game, so maybe they even limit him even more this one. Again, because they said 18 or 19 minutes on Batum, and he played 23. So that's just why I like the under on that one.
So we had Dan here bring up Bagley. So I think we can talk about the Pistons in general. The Pistons, they have an actual kind of slight rivalry with the Nets. that people don't really talk about. But the Blake Griffin being over there, the Pistons do not like Blake Griffin. That did not end well when he left. And I know he doesn't play much for Brooklyn, but they still they ramp it up when they're playing Brooklyn because they just do not like them. And I think we talked about it yesterday. Brooklyn's a team that it's hard to predict. So they should theoretically blow out the Pistons tonight, but it won't happen. My guess is we'll be on here tomorrow talking about how it was a 5-point game. And I could easily see the Pistons winning this. Bagley's been playing out of his mind, and he's really fit really, really well in Detroit. Whether it's, sometimes they'll start him, sometimes it comes off the bench, but he's been fitting in really, really well with Killian Hayes and Cade, just setting him up for assists left and right. So he's been. I like him a lot tonight.
I'm worried about this because I think he's going to be pretty popular for DFS and chalk Marvin Bagley last time. Did not work out at all. It was awful.
Last time he was chalk. So, yeah. But I think that's where you can get into the auxiliary plays. Like I think Isaiah Stewart will have some great opportunities tonight. Cade is I don't know what Cade's lines are right now, but like you could easily see Isaiah Stewart get those 9 rebounds. Like 8.5 is a great line for him. Cade, Cade is great. To me, he's the rookie of the year. And I think he's somebody that should shine tonight. Sadiq, I always have the hardest time.
I never know what to. I swear he's going for 50 or he's going for 10. There's no in between with Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, he is somebody that is brutally difficult to try to predict. If his shot is falling, he's going to get there. But he's somebody that, like, to be honest, I think you could take his PRA under, and you're probably in a good position. I think you could also take his points under because he's either going to blow that out of the water or he's going for like 10. So it's that's just kind of how he is. I don't, like I said, I'm not a big unders guy, but I do think, realistically, your best bets in a game like this are probably taking like Isaiah Stewart rebounds. He's hit over 8.5 the last 4 out of the last 5. And then Cade Cunningham over 20.5 points. I really like that. I don't think this game will be a blowout. So, and that's just because I have no faith in the Nets. So
the thing I will mention with the Pistons though are even in blowouts, there's a decent chunk of time where they're closing with the starters, right? You're seeing Cade out there in a blowout. You're seeing Sadiq Bey out there in a blowout. So like the Pistons are a weird team that like, even if the game does blow out, you still might get closing run for guys like Cade and Sadiq Bey. It's happened multiple times this year. So
yeah. And I'll tell you this right now, I will 100% be doing this today. This is a game where, to me, you do a full stack on PrizePicks, like a 5-legger, and you do something like Isaiah Stewart rebounds, Cade Cunningham points, like Killian Hayes, PRA, who they just added. They haven't had him recently, but Killian Hayes, PRA, and maybe like Corey Joseph, fantasy score, and then run it back with, whoever you want to run it back with on the Nets, whether you want to do Andre Drummond points or Kyrie Irving assists, Kevin Durant points. Like there's a lot of opportunity there to hit that. And I think that's a great opportunity. These are the sort of games that I look for where the lines they're written like this is going to be a blowout. But if there's anything you know about the Nets, when everybody expects them to blow out, they either lose or it's a close game.
Yep. No, I like that. Again, you saw it with that strategy worked for the Blazers Thunder game. Not sure overtime happened, but I think a majority of those props were still hitting even before overtime in that game. So, the positive of the Pistons are they're going to run a tight rotation. Like they're probably only running 8 guys today. Taking overs in this game, hoping it stays competitive, run it back to someone on the Nets. I think it's a good strategy.
Yeah. I mean, they really only have in terms of like point guards, backups. They have Frank Jackson and like Magruder plays a little bit, but Magruder's terrible, and Frank Jackson is spotty. So you just like there's not a lot of there's not a lot of backups there. So Corey Joseph and Killian Hayes are going to get as many minutes as they can handle. Now Killian comes off the bench, but he usually closes the game.
Right.
And then sometimes Corey Joseph will if he's playing a little bit better. But there's a chance that Bagley's not playing well. They'll leave him on the bench and they'll bring in Killian, Corey, and Cade. They'll run a little bit of a small lineup. They do that often too. So that's kind of the thing with the Pistons is it's hard sometimes to have Bagley and Stewart both on the court at the same time. So a lot of times they will run small, and I wouldn't be shocked if they do that against the Nets tonight because Isaiah Stewart does match up pretty well against Andre Drummond. But Bagley on Kevin Durant, that's a little bit tougher. So they might put somebody a little bit quicker like Sadiq on him. I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest, if they even put Cade on him at some point. Cade's got that big body.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, too, last game, the Pistons, you saw Cade play 37, Stewart played 37, Sadiq Bey played 32, Bagley played 35, and Killian Hayes played 25 off the bench. So you saw 10 guys did play, but you saw a pretty condensed rotation with the fact of the main guys played majority of the minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great game script. I like that a lot. I definitely will be hitting that game hard. And then, probably my next favorite would be, the Bulls and the Wizards, probably once that news comes out of who's playing there, if Levine's in or Levine's out. Because I wonder how much they moved. Let me see how much they moved Vooch's line from yesterday. So his PRA yesterday was 28.5. He hit that. They moved it up to 32.5, which to me would imply that they think Levine might be out. That's what I would assume that line would mean because it's not like he's been smashing that. So that line to me says that they're expecting Levine not to play. Let me see if they have. Yeah, so they don't even have Levine's lines in there. And they've got DeRozan at 26.5. So they're pricing everything like Levine's out. So I think that, so those lines won't move a ton. And I think that's an interesting way of, if you do actually think that there's any chance Levine plays, to be honest, that's an under opportunity. But, I think they probably have good word that Levine's not going to play with the lines the way they are.
Yeah, because I think if Levine was, I don't know, it's close because it's a match against the Wizards, so it is one of the better matchups you can get. So I'm kind of torn in this one. I don't know. I get they are priced up a little bit here, but it's injury management, and the Bulls have been dropping in the East, right? They're now, I believe, the 5 seed. Let me see that. The East is tight. So they're the 5.
You worried about a blowout in that game, though?
Not necessarily, because the Bulls have really been struggling. So I'm not as worried about the blowout. What is the spread in that one? Let's refresh that. I don't think it's going to be too much. Maybe the Bulls by 5 would be my guess. Let's say 4 points. Okay.
Okay, so that's closer than I thought. I mean, that line to me seems like they think Levine would be playing or not playing. Because so I think everything is on that Levine's not playing, and if that's the case, I definitely think you could take really any combination of Vooch over 19.5 points. I like that a lot if Levine's not playing. I think Caruso assists is a great line 4. And then same thing with Ayo. He's a great facilitator. So is Caruso. They tend to facilitate when Levine's out. Levine, loves he's a ball handler. So, you take him out of the game. I think Caruso and Ayo, I'm kind of a toss up on who I think would be the better play there. Do you have a take on that?
Not necessarily. I think they're both pretty similar plays. I'd be curious too, if Levine gets ruled out, if they add a Kobe White, prop, because I know last game Levine missed. Kobe White played a good chunk of minutes and had a really solid game. So would be curious to see if they add a Kobe White prop. But as far as, Ayo versus Caruso, I think they're pretty similar. They'll both kind of split the ball handling, neither are super high usage. But yeah, no real strong takes there for me.
Yeah. So what would be your favorite, assuming Levine's out, what would be your favorite prop of the day in that Bulls game?
That's a good question. I think if I knew for sure Levine is out, I would take the first one. The first one I would take would probably be DeRozan over 40 fantasy points. Just 'cause I think he would be the alpha in that situation. Vooch would look good too, but I think the first one I would look to would be DeRozan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that would be a great opportunity. And then I think my next favorite, man, it's tough, but I do like Caruso over 16.5 PRA, and then AO too. That would be a game. This is another one where I think it's an opportunity where if you want to just take a risk and say, okay, I think this game is going to be close, and I think it's going to be a tight rotation. Things like you could easily stack DeRozan fantasy points, AO and Caruso PRA.
This game has shootout potential, right? Neither team really plays defense. So
let's look at some of the Wizards lines to see if you were gonna do that. Who would you pair it with? You've got Porzingis at 23.5 fantasy point or 23.5 points. You've got his fantasy prop. He's been smashing. So, that's a great opportunity.
Plus, you get the 3 for blocks and steals, right? And Porzingis obviously is a guy that is great at getting those peripherals.
Yep.
Let's see. KCP, I don't really have a super strong take on that just because he's kind of score independent. Kind of the same thing with Kispert. Denny's been playing extremely well off the bench. Let's see. Gafford, it is a revenge spot, but the props are still not super low on him. I think the Sato and the Porzingis are probably the 2 that I would look to pair him with.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the last couple games with Satoransky starting, they have not. I don't know if you noticed, they haven't played Raul Neto. He's been out of the rotation. So instead of that ugly 3 point guard rotation, it's been 2. So you've been seeing Satoransky start and play around 30 minutes, and Ish Smith kind of playing that backup role. So I think Sato and Porzingis are probably the 2 guys I look to pair with if I'm just kind of stacking the scheme up and going for a shootout.
Yeah. I think you could also look at even Porzingis free throws is an interesting one. He's going to have
5.5.
Yeah, it's he's going to have the ball a lot in the paint. And also, he's got a chance always to get fouled on a 3-pointer and stuff like that, especially because Vooch out on the perimeter is not a great option. So if Porzingis brings him out a little bit, there's a chance, he draws some fouls out there. So I think I like Porzingis a lot in a matchup like this because if the game's going to stay close, it's most likely because Porzingis is playing really well. If this game's a blowout, Porzingis is not going to be playing well. So this is where, once again, I wouldn't take one of these as a one-off, just because to me it's so game script dependent that if you think this game is going to be close, running something like Porzingis fantasy points along with or PRA, either one. But running one of those with Satoransky and then bringing that back with DeRozan, Caruso, AO, one of those 2 or one of those, I think that's a great idea and something that I think is going to be a good option in a game like this.
Yep, I'm extremely high on Porzingis tonight. I like him for DFS a lot. We've been seeing him continuously play low 30s minutes. I love the spot too. Bigs have been destroying Vucevic. I don't think Vooch can handle Porzingis in the defensive end. So, and Porzingis, I think he shot 6 of 22 last game, I believe. It was something really, really bad. And he's still up for 45 fantasy points. He shot 6 of 21. He went for 23, 9, and 6 with a block and a steal and shot awful and still went for 45 fantasy points. So I agree with you. I'm extremely high on basically everything here on Porzingis.
Yeah, I like his PRA more than I do his fantasy points. And that's just because we don't usually see that large of a gap between the 2. Like yesterday, for example, I want to say it was Poole's PRA was 33 and his fantasy points was 37. Porzingis is 34.5 and his fantasy prop is 42. So you got a 7.5 gap there. I like the PRA. He's hit that 4 out of the last 5. But the fantasy score, he's only hit that 3 out of the last 5. So I do think you have a little bit more leverage there on the PRA than you do on the fantasy prop.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I get the gap, right? Because Porzingis is, again, great shot blocker, can get some steals, and it's 3 points for that. But maybe the PRA is a little bit safer. Okay. Were there any other games you wanted to talk about, like in depth, or any other plays?
I'm trying to see if anybody has anything in the comments.
Yeah, is there anything in the comments that you want to bring up? I mean, to be honest, you mentioned it earlier, but like, I do like that Luka first half.
Yeah.
Like either the points or the fantasy points, just because, I mean, Lakers are awful defensively, right? And you don't have to worry about the blowout here. So, do you like, which one would you like more if you take a first half Luka prop?
I'm pulling it up real quick.
Yeah.
I want to see what Luka's what he's Luka's one of those guys where he can be sometimes a little slow in terms of points. Like sometimes he'll pack those on in the second half more than he will in the first half. That's a toss up for me. I could honestly get down with either. I sort of like the fantasy score a little bit more, just in case he's kind of dishing it a little bit, and getting more like blocks and steals because he can so easily do that.
Right.
Especially going up against like a guy like Russell who we know can turn it over a lot. So I definitely like the fantasy score at 25 because realistically, if Luka's going, if this game ends up being a blowout, it's most likely because Luka went off.
Yep.
And in terms of like 25 in the first half, that's not like some crazy amount for Luka. So yeah, I would probably lean the Luka 25. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I slightly prefer the fantasy prop to the points prop, but yeah, the first half ones are interesting. I got to look at those more in depth for future videos for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely ones that if you look at the fantasy score, I think that's one that I don't do a ton of the fantasy scores, in terms of in my normal prize picks, but I do think in the first half they can be really interesting. And I just think it's because you just get a little bit more value on the lines at times. And then if a game, you don't have to really worry about like blowout at all. Yeah. So for example, like if you look at Austin Reeves, his fantasy score is 9, right?
The first half.
What was that?
Was that for the first half? Yeah.
Yeah. He's hit that in 4 out of the last 5. And there's some games where he doesn't play a ton in the second half, just for a number of reasons. But if he's not having an overall great game, but getting 9 is not that difficult, even if you're having a bad game in the first half. And then taking a guy like Cade's hit that in 4 out of the last 5, the 19. So there's a lot of really good value in that. Isaiah Stewart, his is 12.5. He smashed that in most of these games. Like that, there's a lot of value in the first half lines, and I think that's just because I don't think they put a lot of value on it because I don't think a lot of people play them. So that's one where I think you can kind of I don't want to say take advantage of PrizePicks a little bit, but I think you can take advantage of PrizePicks a little bit.
There is one other game I wanted to talk about here because I think it's going to be a great game to watch, and I think you're going to see the main guys play a little bit more, almost like a playoff game, and that's the Bucks and 76ers. So we have the taco here for Giannis. I mean, you can only, I think the limit is $20 in the taco.
Yeah, I think it's 20 usually.
Yeah. So like I do like that over, but like I'm pretty high on the Giannis props for today, as well as the Embiid props. And it's my reasoning of this is a huge game in the East, right? If you check out the Eastern Conference standings right now, they are both tied at 46 and 28. They're one game back of the Heat right now. So this game is extremely important for playoff seeding. So I personally believe that this is a game where you might get like 40 minutes from Giannis, and you might get like 36 to 38 minutes from Embiid. So I'm pretty high on the Giannis and Embiid pairing here, but I want to hear your thoughts on either of those.
No, I'm definitely right there with you. I think I think those are great, a great game today. That should be a game where Giannis and Embiid are going right after each other. I think that's one where if you actually look at Embiid's first half line, that to me just seems wrong, like just blatantly wrong. I think it's just mispriced. It's 26, and he has smashed that. I mean, absolutely smashed that. So that's one where I would feel incredibly confident taking that. Once again, where I think you can take these games and, hey, it's less of a sweat when you just got to wait until the end of the first half.
That is true.
But yeah, I think that's one where I definitely would heavily target that game. And I think pairing Giannis and Embiid together, knowing that there's a solid chance that if one of them gets there, the other's getting there too, because they're just
that would be a situation where I would like to do like a 2-pick power play with Giannis and Embiid, just because I think there's a decent chance they both play a few extra minutes in this game, and you give them a couple extra minutes, right? They're so productive when they're on the court. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
But was there anything else you wanted to go over? Any community plays, or do you want to wrap it up with looking at making a power play line?
I'm trying to see if there's anything else here in the comments. If anybody has any plays that they want us to talk about, definitely put that in the comments, and we'll bring that up before the show is over. But somebody asked Dan asked, do you think the Lakers are going to miss the playoffs? Boy, that would be that'd be tough. I live in LA, so I would be quite sad if that happens. But I would not be shocked at this point, because I just don't think this team is overly good. They're just so old.
Right now, the Spurs are actually favored to make it over the Lakers, even though they're a half game back, I think.
Yeah, it bums me out so much that Buddy Hield trade didn't happen over the offseason, and that they got Russell instead, because Buddy Hield on this team would be incredible. It would be such a great scoring option to have him. You're seeing what Buddy's doing on Indy right now, and he's dishing the rock. He's going for 20 plus points. Like, he's such a great player on Indy, and I think he'd have a great role on the Lakers. It's just a bummer that trade didn't happen. So we'll see. I don't know. I hope they do, because like I said, I live in LA.
Yep. I see. So on Twitter, I saw a couple people bring up the Drummond over 11 and Drummond over 5.5 first half points. Don't mind either. Again, we saw him play big minutes last game. We saw him play 31 as opposed to like situations where he's playing like around 20 or even under that. So not sure if that continues. You got the surprise Aldridge, just active but not playing. So it is a revenge spot for Drummond. So he is one that I do kind of like that. If I knew for sure Drummond was going to play 31 minutes, I think he smashes like all his props again.
Yeah, he follows me on Twitter. Should I DM him and tell him to
ask him how much he's going to play tonight?
Yeah, hey man, how pissed off are you about the Pistons? Can you promise us you're going to hit over 5.5 in the first half?
Yeah.
Actually, I very much I think that's actually probably one of my if we want to start putting together our line.
So do you want to go like all in on one game, or do you want to kind of spread it out like we did last time?
What's your take?
I'm down for either. I wouldn't hate pushing all our chips into one game, like that Bulls game or the Pistons one that you mentioned. I think both are viable to, if the game's as competitive that, those can hit kind of like the Thunder game.
To be honest, I'm not opposed to doing I think this could be interesting, is if we do a first half only. Five leg, and then do a normal 5 leg.
Okay.
I think that could be, because I think there's some really good value there, especially like Andre Drummond at 15.5 fantasy score. He has smashed that, and I think that's a game where he should get a lot of rebounds. He should get a few blocks, and he seems to always be getting that 6 or 7 points. So I think that's an easy score for him to get to, because he's not really going to turn over the ball. He's just gonna get those rebounds, get those blocks. And the Pistons are a great team to hit that against. So I like that. What is there a line that you like in here? And honestly, I would just click a few and just look at them in terms of guys that we've talked about, because usually you can find some pretty good numbers.
I think the Luka fantasy points that we mentioned the first half. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Porzingis? Let's see what his 21 fantasy. I wouldn't mind taking the over on the fantasy points in the first half.
I could definitely take that. I'll let you decide the first one.
Okay. So
second one.
Yeah. So we're building out the first half line, right?
Yep.
Okay. So how about, over on Porzingis and Luka, and then you mentioned the Drummond one. Was there anything else you were looking to?
Do you want to take the Porzingis first half, or the all game for the second leg, or second PrizePicks? Because to be honest, I kind of like the Porzingis PRA full game more than
Okay.
I like his first half. So maybe that's the better option there. I think in terms of the first halves, I think Joel Embiid should be one that we add in there.
Yeah, that was a good one. He's hit that the fantasy points, right?
Yeah. I'm not opposed if we're going to put Luka in there. I'm not opposed to putting Russell in there. Russell has smashed the 19, even though I know Russell fantasy score is always an interesting one, but he has been smashing that. But also so has Austin Reeves. So I'll let you decide that. But those are two where they should be good opportunity for both.
Yeah. Let's go with the Westbrook one.
Okay.
Pair him with Luka there. I think that makes some sense in the first half. And then maybe we go Giannis since we haven't beat in here.
Yep.
Okay.
So
he's at 28. I mean, I'd still lean the over there in the first half.
Is there anything that you let me add this in on mine? So we've got because you could if we so we have in there right now. I'm pulling it up on mine. So we have Luka, Andre, Russell. What else do we have in there?
Andre, Luka, Embiid, and Russell now over fantasy points in the first half.
We could instead of because the Giannis one is I do like, but he hasn't been smashing that. I would say if there's one that I like a little bit more, it might be running one of the Pistons back, going up against Andre. So I do like Cade. I think is one that I don't think his line is Cade or Isaiah. I like a lot. I think both of those have a lot of good value in them. Same with Bagley. But I think Cade and Isaiah would probably be my favorite plays on the in that game.
Okay, which one do you like? Do you have a lean on which one you like better?
I mean, there is a chance that Andre leads to a little bit of foul trouble for Isaiah.
Yeah.
But his line is just so low that 12.5 Isaiah can get so quickly that I'd probably lean Isaiah and just hope they don't
foul trouble. All right. Yeah, I think that's a solid first half one. We'll see how that goes. Again, I really haven't. This is my first time messing with the first half stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But again, with guys like mainly Luka and Westbrook, you don't have to worry about the blowout, so that is nice. So I think that can be our first half one.
Do you have a bunch of side note? Do you have a bunch of free entries from PrizePicks right now?
I don't think so. No.
They gave me already 2 entries for a free 5 picks to win $250 today.
Oh, hey, can't beat that.
I think that's from me being a degenerate and betting on college basketball.
Yeah,
I have another one. I mean, they're giving me these left and right. Hey, that's another example of why you should be using PrizePicks and gambling on a lot of different stuff. Not gambling, skill based. But I mean, they give you some pretty good bonuses from time to time. So,
okay. So that can be a first half one. And then do you want to do for the full game one? Do you want to stack up a game and see how that goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what game do you want to target the most? I mean, we did talk a lot about Porzingis.
I think the Washington Chicago one, I think sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. So that PRA of Porzingis is probably the one that I'm the biggest fan of. What about you?
Yep. No, I like that a lot. 34.5 PRA. Again, I do think this game is competitive, and Porzingis has been crushing for Washington. So, I think that's a solid one. Do you want to look at either DeRozan or Vooch to pair with?
Yeah, I think I like DeRozan points the most.
Okay.
And then I could get down with it depends on where you want to take it from there, but I feel like we could easily do a it kind of goes, do you want to go with the auxiliary plays after this? Like, do you want to do a Kisper, Ayo, Caruso sort of thing, or do you want to do more of like a Vooch, KCP sort of thing?
I think we look to some of those lower end guys. So maybe either Ayo or Caruso Do you have a preference on which one of those you like better?
No, their lines are so similar.
Yep.
God, I feel like Ayo is a more talented player, but Caruso, I mean, he's a little bit more seasoned. So, boy, that's tough. I don't really have a great. I could literally flip a coin on the two of those. Do you have a take?
Not really. No, I think they're pretty similar. But would you, if we take an over here, would we want to take, PRA or fantasy points or?
I feel like the PRA is probably the easier take for both Ayo or Caruso just because of turnovers. Okay. They're probably going to be leading the pack in terms of ball handling tonight. So I actually think for the third play, if we want to go with one, you mentioned him earlier, but Denny Abdia.
Yeah, he's been crushing it.
Yeah.
They do only have the points and the PRA for him. But he's consistently been playing like around 30 minutes on the bench, and he's been one of their best players over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think his I think he's one where God, I could take either one. So I'll let you decide on that.
Let's go with the points here for Denny.
Okay.
And then I think we should take one of Caruso or Ayo here if we're banking on LaVine not playing.
Right. They think that it looks like it's projected that Ayo would start.
Yeah, he's been starting last couple games.
So, do we like Ayo points? It's 9.5. That's decently low. His assists are also low. Like I do like that if we're expecting DeRozan to get to 26.5.
I think I would feel a little bit better about the Ayo assists as opposed to the points.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we go 3.5 there. I think that's a good number.
Okay, because he's been consistently starting and playing over 30 minutes. And if there's no LaVine, I just think that's more ball handling for Ayo.
Yeah.
So that's 4. Right now we have 2 Wizards and 2 Bulls. Are you thinking like a guy like Sato for the last one, or maybe you throw Vooch in there if we're banking on LaVine not playing?
Sato has screwed me so many times. Yeah. It is tough for me.
It's a pretty sharp line. He's at like 21 or something.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to doing something like I wonder what is. Let me look at Vooch's lines. I'm not opposed to something like Vucevic rebounds, but then I'm also not opposed to doing his PRA just because I do think that he's going to be the second big scorer on the Bulls, and he could easily go for a vintage Vooch night and go for 25 and 10, something like that. And he can also facilitate a little bit. So I do like him. I probably feel a little bit more confident in the big dogs, meaning like if Ayo's getting that 3.5 assists, he's probably getting a few of them to Vooch and a few of them to DeRozan. And then I think, in terms of who else is going to rebound the ball on Chicago, you've got a few guys that come off the bench, but like other than that, they're really they're a pretty small team.
Yeah, like while I think Porzingis should be able to have his way against Vucevic, I think Vucevic should be able to just clean the glass.
Yeah,
because Porzingis is just not a beefy guy, right? I think Vooch can just push him out of the way and just snag those boards.
Yeah. So do you like Vooch rebounds more or the PRA?
Yeah, that's close. I might lean the rebounds, but that's just because I think he can do pretty well on the glass.
If anybody is watching this and has a take on it, let us know what your thoughts are here, because you can easily argue both. I
will say though, if I knew LaVine was playing, I think I'd rather have the boards. If I knew LaVine was out, I think I'd rather have the PRA.
Let's see. I'm gonna just check Twitter real quick and just see if there's any.
And we're kind of banking on LaVine to be out. To be honest, I think it's close. It's injury management. Could go either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we could do is kind of have this and wait for LaVine news. And if LaVine gets ruled out, like just put it in right away. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. I definitely think the only thing is I feel like the moment that LaVine news comes out, these lines might move a little bit. The not a guarantee on that, but but I do think there's a chance that the lines move if people start betting it pretty heavy, and we saw that yesterday with the DeRozan news where his line moved.
Right.
Or not DeRozan news, but just people were betting on
the DeRozan line. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a tough one where I want to just take, Vooch rebounds is a really, I feel like a pretty safe one in the sense of, he should get there in a game where there's going to be a lot of outside shots. There's not a lot of, the Wizards aren't a team that just beat you in the paint repeatedly.
Exactly.
Right. So to be honest, I think we just take Vooch rebounds and
right. I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a good line.
So yeah, we're kind of putting all our pushing our chips all in this game. And here's the thing, right? If LaVine gets ruled out, I'm pretty confident in those Bulls props. And then if LaVine gets ruled out, there's really no blowout risk, I don't think. And Porzingis and Denny have been playing phenomenal. So kind of comes down to the LaVine news for this one, but I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, I do too. So all right, I have those in. I'm locked and loaded.
I'll log in after this and put those two in, the first half one as well as this one. So how do you want to do it for the giveaway? Do you want to do either or these 5 picks?
Either or. If we hit them, we're giving away some coffee. So, man, I thought yesterday it still bums me out that we didn't end up giving away or doubling people's money because we were so close to that. And but no, tonight we're gonna get back at it. These are great. I think these are super. We really got into the nitty gritty on this, especially looking at first half lines. And, I think this is going to be, we're testing out a little bit of game theory here with the Bulls Wizards. So yeah, I like these a lot. I think everybody should ride these, send us screenshots. I already got mine in.
Yep, I'll tweet it out too, guys. It's a little bit hard. I mean, it's hard to show like the whole entry, but I'll tweet it out. So make sure to hit me up on Twitter. But
yeah, and then a reminder, guys, we're going to be giving away a lot of coffee. Like that. That's the goal of this, is to be giving away some coffee, to be giving away some great lineups. So the goal of this is for everybody to make money and to get some coffee. And just a reminder to everybody, if you're if you didn't hear yesterday's stream, that's how DK and I connected in the first place, is that I'm the co-founder of Roast Umber Coffee. And so use the coupon code DKDFS and you get 20% off any of our coffee products on our website, roastumber.com. So it's where the roast at? The roast is right here. I've been drinking it while we've been. So we'll be selling these at some point too. We're working on getting it perfect. It's not a perfect product yet. We've been working on that. So until it is, it's not going on the website. But I've been drinking out of the tumbler. Man, I OD on coffee. I take a double shot of espresso first thing when I wake up every day. So
it's the nitro for me every single day to wake up, and then possibly one more later.
Oh yeah, no, I do a double shot of espresso, then I go to the gym, then I come home and I drink a cold brew, and then sometimes if I need to get a little bit more, another double shot of espresso. Yeah. So, you just gotta to deep dive these lines, you got to be caffeinated.
Oh yeah, man. That's what I said. Long night of gambling. So.
There we go, Travis. If you've got some roast umber, we want to see a photo. That's the cool part with all of this, guys. Is like we want to build up the community and really get everybody interacting with each other and things like that. So if you're drinking roast umber while you're putting together your lineups, we want to see it. We want to send us those photos. If you're putting in your lineups after us, if there's something that we talked about and you end up playing that, and even if it's one that we didn't play, I want you guys to tweet it at us. Like that's the whole point of all of this, is like all of us doing this together. We're all degens, we're all doing this every day, so we might as well do it all together.
Totally agree with that. Any last words for the people, or you want to get out of here?
Let's make some money. How about that?
Yeah, let's get it, man. Let's hit one of these power plays again. If you guys tail and it hits, we're giving away some coffee. Possibly splitting the wheel, maybe we'll have to decide on that, but definitely giving away some coffee if one of these do hit.
When these hit.
When these hit. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see how these first half lines do, as well as kind of stacking up one game and see how that can pan out. But guys, really appreciate you checking out the stream as always. We'll be trying to do this almost every single day. So if you guys do enjoy, just let us know. Mark, anything else?
No, looking forward to posting a winner today.
Yeah.
So let's get after it, guys, and keep tweeting at us, and we'll keep it going, especially as more news comes out.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all in the next stream.
See you guys.